What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be giving you 5 reasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, why you should buy a used car over a new car. To do that, I'm going to compare myself to my mother. My mother has 2 cars. She has a 2019 Toyota Tundra 1794 edition with a very cool orange interior and these slide rails here. With the tonneau cover and a spray-in bed liner that she bought brand new, costing her about $61,000. She also bought this 2009 Volvo C70, which is, in my opinion, one of the best hardtop convertibles you can buy with a family. If you by yourself, don't buy this. But if you got a family, you want to buy this. It has 4 seats, 4 real seats. A short adult can get in the back seat, and she paid about $45,000 for this with all the extra options and the color choices, etc., etc., etc. Now onto my cars. This is my 2001 LX470. I paid, I'm going to round up and say $8,500 for this. I paid less than that, I think. But I'm going to say I paid $8,500 just to make this, to really prove my case. It came with a second set of wheels, and it had 126,000 miles on it. Next up is my 2002 Lexus LS430. Again, I'm going to round up on this. I'm pretty sure I paid like $6,800 for this, maybe $6,900. But I'm going to say I paid $7,200 for it. It had 67,000 miles on it, and it's also been great. Next on the lineup is my 2006 Dodge Magnum, which I purchased this in 2008 for $8,300. It had 17,000 miles on it. It was a salvage vehicle. It needed a little bit of work. In the front, you can actually see the damage from the accident. I never changed the hood, but this is how far back the damage went. It wasn't terrible, but it was enough to salvage it because it was basically a new car. And the airbags blew, and I bought this for, like I said, $8,300. Moving on, we have my 2004 Lexus LS430. This is the facelift, as you can tell by the headlights, and this is an ultra luxury package, which has the nice suede headliner, the nice wood, the air-conditioned massaged rear seats that recline with the privacy shades and the cool box refrigerator. It's not really a refrigerator, cool box in the back. And I paid, at a dealership, after all the fees, I paid $4,100 for this. And finally, we have my 2004 Volkswagen Phaeton, and this is a W12. It came with 2 sets of wheels. I actually have 3 sets of wheels for this now, the factories, and it came with these authentic Bentley wheels. I know they're authentic because I actually saw the guy buy them. It's a long story, but I saw the previous owner buy these, but those authentic Bentley wheels off a Bentley Continental, and I think I said this is the W12. So, and this is also a Premier Edition, which is one of 330 that came to the United States, and I paid $5,000 flat for this bad boy here. Now that we've gone over all the cars, let's talk about pricing, which is my #1 thing on the list. It's cheaper to buy used cars, even with the repairs, and we'll do the repair costs to get them sorted and running properly after we talk about the cost of the cars themselves. But when we calculate the cost of purchase, all of my used cars, I paid $33,100. And when we factor in what my mother paid for just 2 cars, her pickup truck and her convertible, she paid $106,000. I'm actually rounding down, but it's $106,000. And I'm not including like her dealer fees and stuff like that, but 106. Now, a lot of people go for new cars because they say, oh, I don't want to deal with the repairs. And yeah, you paid $33,000 for 5 cars, but all those repairs, we've even seen your videos on that Phaeton. Okay, well, here's the thing. I have that number, and the repairs I'm talking about are going to be the repairs to get the car sorted, not things that just came up over time a year or two later. But we can even address that real quick too. But let's talk about what it costs and what they needed when I first bought them. The Phaeton needed, when I first bought it, it needed a transmission fluid flush, it needed sway bar end links, and it needed new brakes and rotors. So with all that, that cost me about $1,335. So that, getting it on the road running, was $6,335, including the purchase price, including, you know, all the repairs. The Silvia, my 2004 silver Lexus LS430, that only, when I got that, the passenger side window, when she rolled it down, didn't want to roll back up, and the passenger door didn't lock and unlock, and I actually just ended up replacing the whole door for $100. I got the door for $100, and I did the work myself. Shelly, my white LS430, needed an O2 sensor. The end. That was like $60, so call it $72.60. My LX470 Ellie also needed the exact same O2 sensor, which is weird. I didn't buy it from the same person. I bought it from 2 different people months apart. Just needed one O2 sensor. And again, it was $60. I just ordered the same part. It was $60. And my Magnum, we can go look at it. That thing over there, like I said, I bought it salvaged. So obviously that needed quite a bit of work. I needed fenders. I got an SRT bumper. I didn't have to do that. That was the bulk of the cost. And I'm also going to include shipping, because I bought that from LA and I had it shipped to DC, and I got a deal on the shipping. It was $1,000 for the shipping. Everything else though, getting it all together, it was really just those parts. I needed headlights, a fender, and a bumper. And I got an aftermarket power steering cooler, which was like $30 or $25. Yeah, that was about it. And that brought me to a total of about $10,500. So that was the most I needed to do to a car. And that was it. So that brings us to a total of $36,855. A far cry. I mean, we talk about $70,000 less than what my mother spent, and I have way more variety. Now, another thing, you say, oh, well, I don't want to deal with the repairs down the line. Fine. It was cheaper in the beginning, but what about the repairs down the line? Well, I've owned the, okay, let's go through that. Let's go. Now, the Phaeton, that's a hard one, just because if you guys been watching those videos, you saw when I first got it, I took it to a mechanic just to change the fluids. He decided to take it on a family trip or something for Easter and wreck the thing. So, you know, I'm not counting that car. But okay, let's count that car. So he wrecked the thing, and I've just been putting it back together since. However, I did get paid out from the insurance, which gave me $4,800. So the car kind of ended up costing me $200. So, you know, whatever. So over time, let's talk about the things that I had to replace that he didn't do. Batteries from it sitting so much, which again, he kind of caused that. But I got an alternator, and I just kind of changed. It really didn't have any issue for real. I changed the alternator, and I changed the wheel bearing. Everything else I kind of just changed, like hoses and stuff like that, but it was preventative. I just saw like this is going to probably need to be changed, so I did it. So anyway, that's that. That wasn't that bad. For a normal car that needs an alternator, it's not a big deal. For that, it was a very big deal. All right, so moving on. Let's talk about Sylvia. Sylvia, I needed a new air strut, and the only reason I need that is because I hit a pothole. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a new car. If you get in an accident, you get in an accident. You need to fix the thing, so I don't count that. But it hasn't needed anything else. I needed some headlight bulbs. I need a new bulb, and so I got 2. And I need a new horn. we not talking we not even talking $200 here. Those balls was expensive. The horn was like $15, but the because it was used, and that's another thing. When you buy used cars, you can find used parts. Same for the air strap. I got four for $100. So let's move on. Shelly, I did need a new radiator for her, which was like $88. What else? I put a new speaker in there. The sub blue. That was also like $70 or $60. You guys had the video to that, so it wasn't that much. My LX470. Also, I just replaced the radiator because I was doing a timing belt. It needed a new heater tee. I think that was like, let's say it was $20. And it needed a new alternator. I paid someone to do that because it happened while I was on the road, and that was like $460. And Maggie, well, see, and this is almost, let's talk about that because I had that car since 2008, and I replaced the front brakes and rotors, normal maintenance. But let's talk about problems. I need a new oil pressure sensor, and it was another sensor I had to replace. It need work now just because it's been sitting, but other than that, tires, I ain't do nothing. So you see, if you buy the right kind of car, you won't spend a lot of money. Yes, if you're buying old BMWs, you probably, I mean, you could go watch Hoovie's Garage to see what kind of nightmare that's gonna be. You want to buy old Bentleys, you want to buy old fake tires, you're gonna have some issues. But if you're getting reliable cars, it's not gonna be a problem. Which leads me to number 2, cost of ownership. The cost of ownership is cheaper than having a new car. When you have a new car, especially if you finance it, which most people are doing, you're going to have full coverage on them. When you have 5 cars, you don't necessarily need full coverage on all of them because you got so many cars. If one breaks or you get in an accident, you total one, you can sell for parts or whatever, and you got 4 other cars to drive. It's not necessary to have full coverage. Now I do have comprehensive on the Phaeton just because it's rock hit that windshield or something. That's gonna be expensive to replace, but I do have that. But you don't have to have full coverage. And for all 5 of the cars, I pay $111, and that's for me and my wife to be on the policy. I can tell you now, my mother pays more than $111 for this Tundra every month, and I don't know how much she pays for the Volvo. It is old, but she pays quite a bit for. She pays more than I do, and it's just her, and she's old and doesn't drive that much. For just the Tundra. And like I said, when we talk about cost of ownership with newer cars, you gotta kind of take them to the dealership for certain things like transmission fluid flushes or changes. Not so much oil changes, but there's certain things you gotta take stuff to the dealership for that on older cars you could do at home. For instance, my 2002 LS430, I could change the transmission fluid in my driveway just like I changed the oil. As a drain plug, I drain it out and I fill it back up through the dipstick. But my 04 has that sealed forever transmission fluid. It's never forever. And I gotta take it somewhere because you need a lift and you gotta have the right temperature and you need a tech stream and all that to get the transmission fluid changed. Now, fortunately though, it's old enough that I don't need high-end fancy transmission fluid. But these newer cars, the coolant, the refrigerant, all that stuff, man, that stuff is expensive and you gotta go to the dealership. So that costs more to do long term than it does on older cars. All right, moving on to number 3, you have more options. Me, I almost satisfy everything. I have a muscle car. I have 2 luxury sedans. Well, 3 if you include the Phaeton, but that's also kind of a sport hybrid that they pulled off very well. I have an SUV off-roader. I think that covered everything. The muscle car, blah, 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 blah. That was everything. And I could also get me a Tundra or a Tacoma or something like that, just to lug some stuff around, but I don't have to spend that much money. I'll go get me a used one that'll be reliable still, that might need a little bit of work, but it won't equal $60,000. And I could go get me a convertible. Now, like I said, if you got a family, you want a hard top convertible, you want a Volvo C70, but me, I would stick with the Toyota family. I'd get me a SC430. And even still with that, if I overpaid for a SC430 like I almost did last year, bought one for 15 grand, but it was a special edition. And I saw a couple Tundras for $10,000, and I grabbed that. I mean, we still talking. I'm not even at $60,000. And maybe after they need some repairs, I might be at 60, but I'm nowhere near the 106 that she's at. So again, when you're buying used cars, you can have some variety for way less than 2 brand new cars, or in some cases, way less than 1 brand new car. See, for the cost of this Tundra, I could have 1 luxury car if I got rid of one of the LS430s, because really it's kind of redundant. If I have a luxury sedan, sport luxury sedan, rare one of 330, a muscle car, a off-roader SUV, a pickup truck, and a convertible, and they all be less than this one Tundra right here. Now, number 4, buying used cars offers a better long-term investment, mainly because as soon as you drive this thing off the lot, we've all heard it before, you lose so much equity. Within that first 2 years of ownership of a new car, you lose so much value. You lose a substantial amount of value that you just don't see in used cars. Even if you bought a used car that was 3 years old, you're gonna lose value, but you're not gonna lose that much. When you buy something that's over like 10 years old though, like all these cars, I mean, they're completely bottomed out. Matter of fact, let's talk about this. You heard the prices I pay, especially my LX470. I could sell this thing for 20 grand now. That doesn't make any sense, because you know the market is ridiculous right now. But even if it wasn't so ridiculous, I bought it for, let's say, 8,500. I could turn around and sell it for the same thing after owning it for several years. And the same goes for all my cars. And then you also have the ability to kind of shop around. There's more options. You could buy something right with a lot of equity in it, the same way you do a house, which is another video. And you can actually sell it for a profit. You can't do that with new cars unless we're talking Teslas, and I don't even know that they're doing that right now. So used cars offer a better long-term investment. And if you're lucky like I am, shoot, all these things I could sell for a mighty fine profit. Matter of fact, I could sell all these cars and go buy a house cash. Can you do that with your new car? No, you cannot. And while we're on it, because I didn't even include this, you don't have to have a car note. Like I said, all these things, none of these cars were over $10,000 except for the Magnum. But the cost price up front to purchase it was not over $10,000. I was able to fix it over time. But you don't have to have a car note. You don't have to have that stuff on your credit. Now, sometimes it might be advantageous to have some things on your credit to build your credit, but you don't necessarily have to you buy a car to do that. There are little hacks you could do. You can go get a personal loan, a secured loan, hack that, and you don't need to, you can have you a 5-year loan like it was a car loan that makes your credit look really good, But again, that's another video. But you don't necessarily have to do that. But you don't have to have a car note, which means you don't have to worry about the payments every month, just the insurance. And like I said, my insurance is $111, and hardly anything. And finally, because my arm is starting to hurt, you can have a nicer car. Look at this Tundra. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. I mean, it's nice. Or better yet, because I like the Tundra. We're not gonna pick on the Tundra. I like Tundra, and I like this Volvo. But come on. My mother spent 30-something thousand on this. What, 45,000 on this? You know what she could get today if she bought a used something with 45,000? I mean, she would have some kind of time. Matter of fact, look, she could buy a SC430. The SC430s were about 20 grand more than this, maybe 15,000 more than this at that time, and that wouldn't have been very affordable then, but she could buy one now. She could buy one of those. She can get a Mercedes SL. But yeah, she can get an SC430 and a Mercedes SL and still be cheaper than this thing right here. And she could buy them cash, or if she didn't want to buy them cash, she could just have 2 nice convertibles. Matter of fact, she could have a whole fleet, like I said. She could have a nice LS460 plus a nice SC430 plus, the Tundra. There's nothing wrong with the Tundra. But the Tundra actually doesn't even ride as good as my LX. And in fact, it's about the same ride quality as my Magnum, which to me rides like a clunky, fast Lego. But this is kind of similar. It's a little smooth, but, it's none of the Lexus versions of this. So yes, you could just have nicer cars. If you can only afford something that costs $15,000, well, you'd be surprised to find that $15,000 can get you a really nice older car that doesn't have a ton of problems. It's fairly reliable, like an old Lexus LS. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helps you reconsider your car buying experience or your car buying purchase. With the way things are right now, it's kind of hard to get new cars anyway, and you really going to be paying an arm and leg for used and new. If you can bear it, hold out, and don't buy anything. But if you had to, I would say definitely the smart money is on an older, more reliable vehicle like your Lexus LS430s or even that Lexus LS460s, probably not the 07, 08s. Probably you want to do at least a 2012. And surprisingly, the LS460 lineup, they haven't really experienced the inflation that other cars have. The LS430s are getting reckless right now, especially the pre-facelifts, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to talk about that in another video when I compare the pre-facelift to the facelift. So anyway, hope this video was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you liked it, please feel free to like it. It helps me out, make more content like this. Share it with your buddies, and I will see you guys next video.